Hey all, thank you for joining us for our second iteration of the CNS Alumni video series, where we interview prominent CNS alumni that have pursued different career paths. I'm Sakib.
Richard.
And we're your hosts from the Natural Sciences Council. Today we have with us our second guest, Rodolfo Cooper. Rodolfo, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hello, everyone. So first, I want to say thank you for inviting me on here. This is great. I really like what you guys are doing. This project is needed, and I applaud you. So appreciate this. And yes, my name is Rodolfo Cooper, and I graduated from the College of Natural Sciences back in the went to school back in the late 90s and with a math degree.
Thank you so much for coming. We really appreciate that. We know that you are incredibly busy, and to take a little bit out of your day for us is really amazing, and we really, really, really appreciate it. That being said, are you okay if we go ahead and jump into the first question?
Let's do it.
All right, perfect. Can you tell us a little bit about your time here at UC? Like, what was your major? Although I know you already answered that, but what was your major? What were you involved in, et cetera?
Yep, yeah, definitely. So I'll rewind a little bit. So all my life, I wanted to be a doctor. And then senior year in high school, I took a Bio 2 AP class and I realized, no, I don't want to be a doctor anymore. So I didn't know what I wanted to do going to college. I knew my father was an electrical engineer and a lot of my family were electrical engineers. And I knew that I love math and science. So I thought electrical engineering would be the route. So that's what I did going into school. But I realized quickly that that wasn't for me. I was a little hard-headed though, and I didn't change. I felt like I was quitting if I changed. So it took me a little bit longer to realize that I needed to change, needed to make a change. And I just had a conversation with myself to try and figure out what is it that I would change to, and started thinking about what I like, what are my passions. And I really love math. I really love math. And I was following my father's footsteps. My mother's, she had a math degree. And so, I decided now to follow my mother's footsteps. And I went to the College of Natural Sciences and went to the math program and loved it. I really loved it. It really helped build and sharpen my problem solving skills, my analytical skills, presentation skills, even because when you're in there, you're not just doing these complex math problems, but you're also having to present them as well. And I fell flat on my face the first few times because I hated public speaking. But just doing it over and over again, it really helped me to sharpen those skills as well. Being able to talk about something at such a high level to very brilliant students. So it really helped me. And then you asked what else I did at school on campus. So I was involved with intramural sports. I was involved in a fraternity called Kappa Alpha Psi. Did a lot of community events, volunteer events, and parties, of course. And I also had a lot of jobs on campus. So my two main jobs I had was I was a computer lab supervisor in some of the dorms like Jester East and Consolving, and I was co-oping at IBM. So that was my time at UT.
Oh, wow. That sounds really awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Yeah.
I thought it was like pretty cool how, you thought you were like getting too shoehorned into like too tunnel vision on one thing, and you allowed yourself to, take a step back and, really see like, okay, what change do I need to make, and, to further pursue what I want to pursue and just grow as a person. So thank you for sharing that. So I guess the next question is, after graduation, we know you switched fields and, started pursuing a career more around finance. Can you tell us a little bit about what led you to, that career and how you progressed to where you are today?
Yeah, definitely. So when I graduated, the big thing then was IT. And I had experience in technology, working as the computer lab supervisor and co-oping at IBM. So I just decided to do that as well. So I was a software programmer, did that, and some project management jobs as well. And it was great, decent pay, decent experience. However, I knew it just wasn't me. I knew that long term, I wanted to do something else. I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I knew I wanted to do something else. So I just reached out to people. I reached out to friends, I reached out to friends and family, to people I know, and just basically asked them what they do, what they do, how they got into it, what they like about it, what they don't like about it. And the more and more I did that to people that were in finance, the more I realized that, yeah, this is what I want to do. So then I figured out what steps I needed to take to get there, and took those steps and went down to Wall Street, was knocking on the door of those banks, telling them what I want to do, what I've been doing, and was able to get on a firm. So first job there, I worked doing, it was a new desk that they had, but doing structured credit advisory and sales for a very large global investment bank. And it was great.
Wow, that's quite the story. I mean, like Richard was saying, a lot of people start to feel really shoehorned into one career, especially in CNS, and for you to be able to, realize like you can kind of roll with the punches is really impressive. I know a lot of students would freak out in a position like that, and I'm sure you definitely freaked out just a little bit.
Yeah.
Um, but that is still really impressive. That being said, what kind of pushed you in that direction to get your MBA? Was it right after you're like talking to your family and stuff, or was it after you actually got your first job?
Yeah. So when I knew I needed to make that change, and when I knew what I needed to get into, I knew this, I tried to figure out what steps I need to take to get there, to get to my goal. And one of the things was, I knew that if I went to business school, it would be a lot easier to make that career switch into finance, because I can get that internship in the middle of the 2 years, get that little experience. And that was a big thing. I just did not have the experience at all. So get that experience to get in there. And that's what helped me get into my roles and get into finance. So had it, I didn't have that finance background, and that MBA helped me do that, but I had the quantitative and analytical and product problem solving skills needed, and they could see that with their math major. So that really helped, but also getting that finance background in MBA school and then getting that internship really helped me get onto Wall Street.
That's just really amazing, and we're really glad you were able to, make that pivot and find your path. That being
Thank you.
said, I'm sure it wasn't. I'm sure the entire thing wasn't as easy as it sounded. So that being said, did you have any major bumps in the roads or just hardships in life? And if so, how did you overcome them?
Yeah, definitely. I had two major bumps in the road. So like I said, my first job, I was doing that structured credit sales and advisory position, and it was great. We were working with these funky, complex financial securities and advising hedge funds and mutual funds and pension funds on them. However, 2008, the credit crisis hit, and there were massive layoffs all over, and I was a casualty. So that was hard. That was very hard. It was a time where you've done so much to get to where you are, and it's gone just like that. In addition to that, it's not as easy as going to another bank to do what you're doing, because no one's hiring at that time. Everyone's laying off. And the financial instruments you're working with, no one's investing in those anymore right now because of what's going on. So it was really hard. Luckily, though, I volunteered a lot with our recruiters. So whenever they came to me and asked me if I wanted to speak on a panel to students, I did that. Whenever they asked me if I want to go to a career fair and talk to students, I did that. Everything I would do to help them out. And one of the recruiters, she left before this happened, went to another firm, E&Y or Ernst& Young, and we got connected. She found out that I was laid off. She told me to send my resume over. I did, and was able to get a interview quickly for, basically they were trying to ramp up this group at EY that was called a complex securities valuation group, where they value funky or complex instruments that companies own. And it was a time where there's a lot more regulation, and companies had to value a lot of these securities that they own now in certain ways. So I was able to get on, and that was great. And then another major bump I had, or major hurdle, was, now that job I absolutely loved. I loved seeing all those different types of securities and valuing them, and the clients that I work with. However, the hours were brutal. I was working to 3 a.m. a lot. And so after a couple years, I ended up going over to another large investment bank. And a few years after that, that investment bank, there was a position in Houston available, open. My wife and I were thinking about starting a family, so we ended up taking that position, going to Houston and working in institutional equity sales. So advising and selling stocks to institutional investors. After about a year or so, year and a half, they decided they wanted to close that branch in Houston. So that was another major hurdle. But just like the last time, my connections really helped me out. I was going to interview at a energy firm. And then when I was leaving the interview, going back to my car, I ran into someone I knew from UT, and we started talking. He was on break. He was outside. He working at this company called Invesco, and he asked what's going on. I told him. He told me to send him my resume. I did, and I ended up interviewing for this job. They were trying to ramp up derivatives, trading in derivatives, and was able to get a job at Invesco pretty quickly. So the connections that I had, those personal connections and professional connections that I've made throughout the years, they really helped me out in those situations. Those are huge major hurdles in my life. But because of the network and the connections that I made, they were able to help me out fairly quickly.
Yeah, again, thank you so much for sharing that and being, open with your struggles and how you overcame them. Thank you again. Just,
Yeah.
I'm sure many people will have good lessons from that experiences. I really thought it was like cool how, despite both of your, struggles, like you came out both of them because, you were able to have good conversations with, people that are, close to you or that you're connected with. So I think that really speaks to the value of, just having a good network of connections and being able to have good conversations with them as well. So
Yes,
for
definitely.
sharing that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess I want to transition more into the present. So currently you work as a director for a financial services company. Can you talk a little about your role, or in other words, I'm sure you're familiar with this term. What do you do?
Very funny. I like that. So yes, so currently I'm working at a fintech or financial technology company, working with clients who are hedge funds that have CLOs. And what CLOs are basically just financial products that are backed by corporate loans. And so what we do is we work with these clients, and we'll do any type of financial solutions for them. So we'll do compliance reporting for these CLOs, cash management, trade reconciliation, risk management, any type of financial solution that we can, we'll do for these clients. And so I'm a director in their group. I work in at the company. I work in the client services group, and I've been working there for about 3 years, and it's great.
I think it's really amazing to see like how far, putting everything into perspective now, like everything that we've talked about so far, how you've been moving through starting as a math major, getting your MBA, transitioning, and now working as a director for like a financial services company. I think that's really impressive and really amazing. But when we were doing our research, we found out you do so much more amazing things, or so many more amazing things rather. Like for one, the podcast with What Do You Do? For those that didn't get the joke, we'll talk about that a little bit later. But you're also incredibly involved in the community, sitting on the board for 2 educationally focused organizations and even founding your own organization. Can you tell us a little bit about what led you to these roles and why you're so passionate about these causes?
Sure. Yeah. So really all my life, I've been passionate in just volunteering and being involved in the community. So I remember in high school, I was in a class called PALS in my high school at Cy-Fair, and it was basically a volunteer-based class or a community involvement class, and we would do things like big brothers or big sisters for junior high kids. And I've continued to do things like that throughout the years. So be involved in Big Brothers Big Sisters, be involved in Junior Achievement, and I Mentor, things of that nature. And I remember one time in the East Coast where I had a little brother. Well, let me back up. I just say that, I know that my life, I've been very fortunate. I have parents that were able to tell me certain steps to take and to push me when I need to be pushed to do certain things. And not only that, I have uncles and aunts that did that, and grandparents that did that. But I know there are a lot of people that don't have that. And so, like I was saying, I remember being in Big Brothers Big Sisters in the East Coast, and I had a little whose father, he was in a bad situation. His father was murdered. His stepfather was in jail for life. And I remember taking him to a place called ESPN Zone there, and had recliner seats. We were laying back. They had these huge TVs, so we were able to watch different sports. And he had a milkshake, got him a milkshake, and he's drinking it. And he's just said, "This is the best day ever. I've never done anything like this before in my life." And I just wanted to cry. I just felt like, wow, I I want to help. I want to be able to help more people like this. So I made it a point to do that, to continue to help people. And I got to a certain point where, in addition to volunteering, I was able to help make decisions and planning for some of these organizations. So I got on the board of a nonprofit organization called Young Audiences, where we help bring arts to kids. So a lot of these schools now, they've cut arts out of it because of budget cuts. And for kids that are in affluent families, they'll still get exposure to the arts. But others, if they don't get exposure to it in school, they're not going to get exposed to it at all. So it's been very instrumental for them and very impactful for them. It's been great. And then I'm on a board of another organization called the Wade Smith Foundation, and we help to basically with youth. We do a lot of youth programs, and we help to increase literacy in kids, and that's been great through a lot of programs, and that's been great. In addition to that, like you said, I started my own nonprofit organization. So have 15 years in finance now. And one thing that I realized over those years is that there's a definite lack of diversity in finance. So I realized that there's basically, through my uh, thinking and research, there's three main reasons I believe that there's a lack of diversity in finance that I can make an impact on. And those were, one, just awareness. A lot of these minority students don't have awareness of a lot of these jobs out there. Second is connections. A lot of these minority students or minority people just don't have those connections to help them get into these and that don't have the experience at all. So what I did established this nonprofit organization called Rising Stars Capital Management to help fight those three areas. And it's been great. We, started it last year. We had a pivot because of COVID and the pandemic, and we're doing only virtual events, but it's been phenomenal. We just finished an event last week where we did a 4-day camp with Invesco, which is an asset management firm that has over $1 trillion of assets under management, where they did an overview on asset management, on equities, on fixed income, on exchange traded funds to students of color of a few different universities. And we have another one, we're in the beginning stages of doing something similar within a large investment bank in the spring. So yeah, it's been great.
Yeah, that's really awesome to hear again. Like, I think it's, I don't know, really it's just cool how you're able to like give back to your community, and like work with them and, you know, just increase like representation in the field you work in. And I think all of those things are like, I don't know, just really admirable. And uh, yeah, it's, I don't know, just being able to work with the youth and like mentor them, I feel like is such a enjoyable experience, and
Yeah.
I really
Yeah.
do appreciate that you did that. Yeah.
Well, thanks.
Um,
Thanks for the kind words. Appreciate that.
yeah. So kind of transitioning into, I know how like, you work with like a lot of the community around you and the youth. And oftentimes, the youth will be trying to be soul searching or like, determining what career they want to be in life, right? Starting at a very young age, is like a lot of pressure to do that, even starting just from high school, right?
Mhm.
So we know you host a podcast called, What Do You Do?
Right.
So we were wondering, what kind of motivated you to host this podcast, and just how did you pick like its focus?
Yeah. Yeah. No, good question. So throughout my years, I guess, in volunteering and working in the community, one thing I've seen in general is that there's just a lot of kids, students, adults, just people in general that don't have awareness of a lot of job types out there, and don't have awareness of a lot of career paths out there, and don't have exposure to a lot of professionals that can talk to them about it as well. So, and I was one of them. When I knew that IT wasn't what I wanted to do and I wanted to do something else, I had to go out there and basically interview people and ask them, what do you do, to try and find out why they do it and what they love about it, and try to see if I is something that I want to do. So I started thinking, how can I be able to do that for others, to let them know what's out there and hear these stories of these successful professionals out there, and what steps they took, and what they how they fell down flat in their face but got back up, and things of that nature. And so I thought, why not do what I did myself, ask these questions, but ask them in an interview for everyone to hear on a podcast. So that's what I did. I just started interviewing people of all different paths, and people of all different professions, from an astronaut to a diplomat to a barbershop owner to a police officer, venture capitalist, investment banker, on and on and on. And asked them those same questions basically that I asked when I was younger, to find out what they do. And it's been great. I had a lot of great feedback from people, and had several people even reach out to me about certain podcasts, telling me that it's made them change their mind, and now they know more about this job type, or not even just change their mind, open their minds, for some of them, to let them know about certain job types, and some of the stories, and want to get connected with these people. So it's been great.
Yeah, we got a chance to watch a few episodes, and we were, scrolling through all the episodes that you have uploaded on your website. And it's amazing. There are really just so many different careers. And I really just have to know, how do you know all of these people?
So it goes back to the connections I was talking about, and network I was talking about before. I really believe strongly in having, and I made the point to do that, really after I graduated undergrad. After I graduated undergrad, I started thinking more about, no, and I should back up, undergrad also. I really just getting involved in different things. And that's where you really and truly make genuine connections. And, if you're an undergrad, get involved in clubs, get involved in fraternity and sorority if you can, or whatever. And just build your network, because 5, 10, 15, 20 years down the line, a lot of these people that you're going to be that you're around now are going to be doing great things down the line, just like you will, and you'll be able to help them, and they'll be able to help you. So uh, that's all. Just been getting involved, and just networking with as many people as I can throughout the years, whether it's been in undergrad, in business school, on Wall Street, in IT, everywhere that I've been involved with. Just being connected with people, but staying connected with them.
And I had another really quick follow-up.
Mhm.
So out of all the community initiatives that you're a part of, as well as the podcast that you said you host, to let people know what's really going on, and help them find their paths, what do you feel has been your most rewarding experience?
Hmm. Oof. I would. That's a good question. I would say probably the creating this nonprofit and getting it off the ground. I created it, and we were starting our first few events during the pandemic, so we had to cancel and postpone some events, but just trying switching gears, pivoting, and then getting it off the ground, and then truly making a difference and hearing it from the people that we've helped really has it's been great to see that impact. And I think truly out of everything that's really touched me.
That's really, really amazing. And like Richard said, it's just wonderful to see how much you're able to actually give back to the community. I
Mm.
know in high school and college, students are always like, let me find community service and volunteering and stuff. But you never really know how big of an impact you have on the community, until you actually are able to look back on all the things you've done. And I just
Mhm.
think that's so amazing that you have done and continue to do so many of these wonderful things.
Mm.
Um,
Thank you.
of course, of course. That being said, you've had an amazing path, starting as a math major, then a giant 180. Well, not quite a 180, but a
Yeah.
huge career change still, going
Mhm.
to finance. I'm sorry. Do you want to interject really quickly?
Oh no. No.
Okay, yeah, it's just been
No.
a huge change, and then continuing further, starting all these amazing community initiatives, starting your podcast. As I'm sure it has been a wild ride for you, and every day is just better than the next. If you could do it all over again, though, would you choose the same path for yourself? And if not, what would you change?
Hmm. Yeah. So I would definitely choose the same path. I always believe that I would never change anything that I've done in the past. Maybe I will do something, I might have to do something differently now or in the future, but never will I go back and think, oh, I should have done this or should have done that. I think it's a waste of time for me. So, all the things that I've done or all the things that have happened, they've somehow shaped me or helped me to get to where I am now and where I'm going to be growing and going in the future. So, no, I wouldn't change anything. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. I mean, it's, I mean, as a like a just a young college student right now, it's kind of hard to envision, what I'll look like, in 20, 30 years. So, I mean, I'm not really sure, like from your position in my future, I'm not sure like what I would do, but I think it's cool that you were able to, have peace with your path and,
Hmm.
appreciate it for what it is. So,
Yeah.
um, I guess this is the final question. So, I guess I mean you kind of already covered this. I feel like I will kind of know what you say, like what you will say to this question. But do you have any parting advice for any current UT students? Doesn't have to be super serious. It could be something fun if you want.
Yeah. So, I guess three things. One is for your major in school, I would say do something that you're passionate about. Get in something that you're passionate about. Uh, don't really go into something because it's the hot thing right now or because someone else is pushing you into it. Do something you're passionate about, and things will work out. Things will work out. And if you're trying hard to get into something or do something that you're not passionate about and you're not feeling, a lot of times it doesn't work out in the end. So, I'll just say that one is just get into something you're passionate about. The second is don't limit yourself to certain paths in what major or what area you pick. So, for instance, what I mean by that is when I went to math, people would tell me, "Oh, all you can be is a professor or uh, work in research or maybe even an actuary. That's it." No, you can do a lot of things in math. When I tell people I'm a math major, they think I'm a genius, which is good because I'm not. But that those problems, like I said before, those problem solving skills, those analytical skills, those um, uh, the quantitative skills that you build as a math major, doing all those complex problems and digging deep into it, but also presenting it, that's a huge skill set. And I utilize that so much in my math career. So whether it's, working on valuing options, and I need to know if I'm using a probability weighted expected return formula or option pricing model or a Black-Scholes Gaussian copula model, all these different things you're using. And I'm sorry throwing out these finance terms, but I've used math all throughout my finance career. And not only that, not only using math, but right now, what I'm doing right now, if a client will come up and come to me with an issue saying, this loan here, I thought that it looks like this interest, that the interest payment that has been paid is under, it was shorted. Can you figure out what's going on? Look at the spread, look at this maturity, this is that, whatever. I need to do something quickly and find out what's going on quickly and solve that problem quickly to get back to the client. And that math background that I have and being able to not only being able to do it, but be able to present this complex and high level stuff at a and be comfortable about it was because of that, what I did in undergrad. So I say that to just, what you're doing here is great, and people should uh, watch watch projects like this. They should go to their career services department. They should go to their alumni services department and just research what all the things that they can do and all the things that they can get into with their career. So that'll be the second thing. And the third thing is I mentioned before, but just get involved in, build your network, because that is invaluable. No matter what you're doing, whether it's getting into a certain school or getting into a certain job or whatever it is, a lot of it is who you know. And you want to be able to, right now, if you're at UT, you're around, I don't know what, 50 or 60,000 faculty and students all in one place. Take advantage of it. Get involved and really make those genuine connections now. So those are the three things I would say. And just have fun. Fourth thing.
That's really, really amazing advice. And I'm glad you brought up so many of those things, because I feel like students in CNS especially, really need to hear things like that from alumni that have gone through similar experiences, understand that it helps them understand that they're not alone and that there are people that have, gone through the same thing and changed stuff up and, found their path and eventually are succeeding in the way that you are. That being said, though, unfortunately, that was our last question. We really, really enjoyed having you. Thank you so much. This has just been such an insightful and hopefully a really inspirational conversation for students, because I know I got a lot out of it and I'm sure Richard did as well. That being said, I do once again just want to say thank you so much for taking the time to come out. Richard?
Yeah, we just really appreciate you being here, and thank you for all your wisdom and advice today.
Well, great. Like I said before earlier, this is a great project. Really appreciate what you guys are doing. Please keep it up, and let me know any way that I can help besides this. So thanks a lot.
Yes, sir, of course. And again, thank you so much for thank you so much for letting us have you today and giving us that little bit of your time. And for our audience, be sure to tune into our next episode. We really appreciate you watching this one. And as always, hook 'em.